Well, the year 732. Charles, he was the king of the Franks in France. And in his time, the Islam, which originated in Mecca, had in 100 times year um, expanded all the way to the Loire River in France with the Moorish armies. So Charles he studied the Moorish armies. They were professional soldiers, while the Franks they only had peasants who were available after the harvest. So Charles he adapted all those things, and in 732 the Moorish armies approached uh, the river Loire near Tours and Poitiers. There, there was a huge battle with the Franks under the command of Charles. And in that battle, the Franks definitely stopped the advance and expansion of the Moorish armies of Islam. Charles got the nickname the Hammer, and his grandson got the nickname the Great. 762. Al Mansur was family of Mohammed. Islam was in full expansion. Um, After they had conquered the Arabian Peninsula, they also had conquered Egypt, Libya, Jordan, Syria, Iraq, Iran, and, well, they decided to found a new city. The location should be central, and they came uh, to a place near the river Tigris. The name of the new town was Baghdad, and soon it would grow to be the largest city in the world with 1 million citizens. The city was founded in 762. A house of wisdom was constructed there. Alchemy was the predecessor of chemistry, and they tried to change stones into gold. Astronomy gave them tables about the position of the planets, and but the Earth always remained the center of the universe. Medicine built on the tradition of the Greek Galenus. In literature came to existence the story of Thousand and One Nights. Once upon a time, there was a king, and he was cheated by his wife. To prevent repetition of this event, he decided to go sleeping each night with a virgin, and the next morning he would have her killed. So after a while, he marries with Scheherazade, who, to avoid her execution the next morning, decided to tell the king a story, which at the end of the night is unfinished. So she can do this uh, during 1001 nights, and she gives birth to a few children of the king. And when, after 1001 nights, her story is finally finished, the king loves her so much that he decides to um, give her pardon, and that she can, and so she's not killed, and that she can definitely become his wife. The year 800, Charles the Great, he is declared Emperor of the Roman Holy Empire by the Pope. His grandfather was Charles the Hammer, who stopped Islam by winning a battle between armies near Poitiers on the Loire River. After that, the Carolingers made Western Europe very Christian. 1032, Avicenna, he wrote that he had seen the planet Venus as a spot on the sun. We don't know if he has seen it or not, but in 1032 there has been such a passage of the planet Venus. The conclusion of Avicenna that the planet Venus is in a sphere around the Earth which is closer than the Sun. He also wrote that he thought that the planets radiate light themselves and also the stars. In his time, it was accepted generally that the stars reflected the light of the sun. 1054, Leo was a German who was Pope in Rome. And he found that there should come an end to the churches in the south of Italy where no Jesus in flesh and blood was prayed for. Jesus in flesh and blood had existed and was no ghost. But still, Jesus was divine, just like his Father and the Holy Spirit. If the churches did not want to accept that, because they followed the thoughts of the Patriarch of Constantinople, then those churches in southern Italy should close. Well, as a reaction to those closings in southern Italy, the result was that the Latin churches in Constantinople also had to close. Well, and then Leo decided that the men in Constantinople should be excommunicated, with as a result that Leo himself was excommunicated by the patriarchs in Constantinople. A definitive a breakup between the Christians of Rome and those of the East was the end result. For centuries, the Greek language was the language of the East, and the Latin language was the language of the West. So there were differences, and also on theological level, during centuries, there were profound differences in opinion. So it finally came to a definitive breakup. The Islam by then was already very prominent in the East. Allah is everywhere, He is almighty and eternal. Well, and Jesus is of flesh and blood, and the heaven is above us. Well, until in 1804, on the grave of Immanuel Kant, stands that he looks with enormous respect to the stars in the heaven, but he still believes that our moral law um, is higher than any matter. Well, 1099. Gottfried was a knight from the north of France. He was one of the leaders of the First Crusade. They wanted to help the Byzantine Empire against the Muslims, and so in 1099 they attacked Jerusalem. After victory, Gottfried became king in Jerusalem, but he did not want to wear a golden crown in the land where Jesus had worn a crown of thorns. 1250. Somebody who prefers to remain anonymous wrote a story about a very clever fox with the name Reinhard. He had a lot of sins on, in his past, and that was the reason why he should be judged in the court of King Noble. All animals made their complaints with the king, but Reinhard he stayed away, and then the king sent all kinds of animals to capture Reinhard, but each time the animals failed to capture him because he made use of their own sins and weaknesses to escape. When the bear came, Reinhard told him he knew a spot where there was enormously much honey, and in that way the bear got stuck with his head in a tree, and Reinhard could escape. Finally, he was captured and brought to King Noble. There, Reinhard told the wife of Noble about a very, very big treasure of gold and diamonds. He would tell where this treasure was hidden if he would be released. Then King Noble had to release Reinhard on insistence of his wife. Reinhard told where the treasure was hidden, but the treasure has never been found. The story of Reinhard the Fox originated around 1250 near the city of Antwerp in the Waasland. From then on is world literature. The morality of the story: those who come to catch you because you have sinned have made sins themselves as much as you. 1258, Genghis Khan destroys Baghdad and the House of Wisdom. 1273, Thomas has proven the existence of God on cosmological level. Everything moves, but movement is always caused by another movement, and so you can always go on eternally, except if there is something untouched which starts every movement. That is the reason why God exists, because He is the one who puts everything into motion without being set into motion Himself. And all things, they try to reach a certain goal. This this causes that the aim exists, and God is that aim. There come and disappear things in our world, but it cannot exist out of uh, something. There must be a beginning, and that's the reason why God exists.